Hello, good afternoon. Hopefully this is working. We have, as always, things never quite run smooth when you're online. So we've had a bit of technical difficulty, and hopefully we've got both Lyn and Sabiha here with me, and hopefully you can see them on the stream that's coming through. But we have had a bit of technical difficulty. I can't see either of them on my screen. It's all very confusing. But with that in mind, and with all that in hand, welcome to our new series of We Are Careers. Very good to have everybody back with us. On the Facebook group or in the messages, if people can comment and let us know if you can hear us okay, if you can see us. Someone's already said that. Fantastic. And we might have to do a little bit of a juggling act here today, as for some reason I can't see either of our guests today, but they can apparently see me and you can see them. That's the important thing. So welcome back. Welcome to our latest series of We Are Careers. For those that don't know me, my name's Chris Webb. I'm a higher education careers professional, member of the CDI and registered career development professional. And very, very happy to be back here with everybody for our fourth series. Can't believe we're saying that. We've had a little bit of time out to look at kind of the show and look at particular episodes that people were really wanting to kind of get stuck into, topical episodes, and we hope that our next kind of 5 episodes in the run up to Christmas will cover some of those topics. So yes, a very warm welcome to my co-host, who I can't see, which is really quite disconcerting. But Sabiha, I'm going to pass over to you to introduce yourself and say hi to everybody watching at home.
Thank you so much, Chris. Honestly, guys, you would not believe the sort of panic that's ensued, both myself, Lyn and Chris, in the last few minutes. So we're really grateful. And today, more than ever, as Chris said, please let us know, for those of you that are watching us live right now, okay, whether that's through the Facebook group community, or whether that's you're watching us live through the LinkedIn community or the YouTube community, let us know. As always, I always love to hear from each and every one of you, to know where it is, which part of the world that you're watching from. So use the comment section to let us know where you're watching from today. Now, as Chris said, we've had a bit of a break, but we're now back in live, and I'm super excited about joining everyone. So thanks for everybody in the career sphere. We've got another week of topical chat from the world of careers, education, and employment. Now, coming up in today's show, we're going to be speaking with the very legend, CDI and NICEC research fellow, Dr. Lyn Barham, about green jobs. And some of what she's going to have to share with us today may surprise some of you. So make sure that you stay tuned right till the end, because we've got several bonuses, as well as how this area is developing in terms of labour market and how that ties into the work that we do as careers professionals. As always, we'll be sharing our shout out for our latest members who've joined the CDI careers community, and rounding off the proceedings with the latest news from the CDI and the main sector, as well as the wider world of careers. Now, each show, we like to celebrate the newest members of our CDP members of the CDI community, and we like to give them a warm welcome to the group. So is your name on the list? I'm going to run through the list really. I'm going to try and do it as quickly and as articulately as I can. So I want to welcome Nicola Anderson, Tracy Hill, Chloe Lewis, Amy Logsdon, Orla Whelan Davis, Dilpreet Sanghira, Jackie Hammond, Sayed Fazil, Amanda Carr, Sue Thomas, Bridgewinder Gill, Stephanie Murray, Davina Bray, Leanne Hunt, and Leslie Kay. Pop into the chat and say hello. If you heard your name just now, or if you're seeing it in the comment section right now, okay, introduce yourself. Let us know, what area of CIAG are you working in? Perhaps maybe you saw a fellow colleague or friend's name in the list. If yes, tag them so that we can celebrate them becoming members together. As always, hit that like button. And if you're enjoying these shows and the awesome guests that we're bringing each time, make sure that you press that subscribe or that bell button on YouTube channel if you want to make sure that you catch these shows, particularly if you're not a member of the community. Now, today's theme is all about green jobs and CIAG, and we have the wonderful Dr. Lyn Barham with us. So Lyn, what do people need to know about you that perhaps have maybe seen you or heard of your name and some of the work that you've done? So what should people know about you, and what kind of projects are you currently working on at the moment, Lyn?
Oh gosh, I didn't know you were going to ask about me. I'm all geared up for talking about green jobs. Yeah, I've been around much too long. Do you know, I'm going to do a confessional that I've never done anywhere else before.
You heard it first here, viewers. We're getting an exclusive from Dr. Barham. So there you go. Go for it.
first job in the careers service was 50 years ago.
Wow.
Wow. I just realized that recently.
Is anybody else, can anyone else match that? Has anybody else worked longer in this profession than Lyn? If you have, use the comment section to let us know. How long have you been working in the careers space? Let us know.
While we wait for that, Sabiha, my first job was with the London Borough of Brent in the Pound Lane Willesden Careers Office, and we had separate doors for boys and girls. How about that?
How we've come forward,
Yeah.
how things have changed. And what have you enjoyed about the work that you've done, Lyn? And maybe perhaps talk a little bit about the work that you're currently working on. I know we're going to dive into more detail about the green jobs shortly.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess it won't surprise you to know that I am trying, but really struggling with retiring. And every time I say that to my colleagues in NICEC or to Claire Johnson at the CDI, they say, no, don't do that. So while I'm useful, I guess, you know, there's a great pull to stay here. I think this community has been one of the richest places that anybody could spend their life. The friendships, the interest, the challenge, the commitments, and just the general good vibe of the whole careers community, I think is fabulous. And it's ever so difficult to leave it. So I'm still here for a little bit more, but I am only working half time. Trying to be very resolute about that.
Trying to be very resolute about that. I'm just going to bring in some of the comments that are coming through right now. Now we've got somebody here that is saying that they've been in the field for 35 years, so they can't match your 50 years, Lyn. And, you know, another comment coming through about how times have changed and making a nod to what we're talking about here today as well. We've got here Liz McGuire saying hello from my in-school careers room in Gravesend, Kent. She's in Kent, looking forward to learning more about green jobs. Yes, you are, Lyn. I've got somebody else just agreeing with me unanimously. Yes, you are, Lyn. You are a legend. So I'm going to now let Chris come in because I know he wants to get us jumping in, diving in deep now with the theme that we've got today. Chris, over to you. I've got to let you just give me a go. Okay, Chris, let's see if we can get Chris back in here now and see if we can kickstart the session, the topic we're so keen to explore.
Yes, hello. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
We can, Chris, we can.
Yeah, it's a slightly strange. I said, I'm gonna. That's better. Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. So I'm kind of getting the Facebook feed, and I'm also getting this feed. So I have to try and balance the two. No idea what's happening technically. Let's blame the work Wi-Fi. But so yeah, our first episode of the series, I think, is one that we know is going to be very topical. We've just coming off the back of COP26. We've had the session run by Tristram Hooley yesterday, the green guidance session that was run through the CDI. And I think that idea of thinking about the green agenda, the green economy is really, you know, if it wasn't growing in importance already, it's very much in the forefront of people's minds. But we're now in a position where we're actually kind of considering, well, what does this look like for careers professionals? And this is where Lyn has very kindly come in today to sort of address this topic and give us the benefit for expertise. So I think, Lyn, I guess first question on this front really is thinking about maybe people who are really unfamiliar, if they could be, I guess, with the green jobs agenda. What do we mean by a green job or a green career? And what does that look like?
Okay, well, I think that's something that has changed hugely over time. So there was an old view, and when I say old view, I mean probably 10 years, even 5 years ago, there was an old view that a green job was doing something that was specifically about climate change. So it might have been a solar panel installer, it might have been somebody working in the whole recycling, you know, collection and reprocessing and reusing bit. I would argue now the new view would be that any job can be a green job, and that's how we really need to think about this. So let me take some examples. So you've got a client who's really into working in finance, going into the city, all that kind of stuff. And you think, it's all about sort of big business and, you know, wrecking the environment and so on. But they can go into finance and the city and work on ethical financial investment and the kind of green funds, the, you know, all these new ways of investing that people are demanding. And it's a really growing field. Or they could go into engineering, but you don't have to be wrecking the planet. You can be working on the solutions, on non-polluting cars, on lorry design, on wind turbines. So all of that engineering interest can be channeled in a green way. Retail, there's lots of ethical customer demand. There's going to be quite a lot of shift in retail. You could be in there. Architecture, energy efficient buildings, even arts and drama. There's lots of community groups or, you know, activity around that. And even good old banking. Gosh, when I was a student, we were lobbying Barclays Bank, and we still need to lobby Barclays Bank, don't we? But you can go into banking and work for Triodos or work with Co-op Bank. So whatever you want to do, you've just got to think about how you do it. And of course, who you do it with. It does depend who you work for.
I love that, Lyn. I love the fact that you've just bought in and boom. Did anybody else just sort of kind of have some aha moments where you go, oh, hang on a second, green jobs can be all jobs? Is anybody else or is anybody else agreeing with Lyn about this concept? Or perhaps maybe you have a difference of an opinion. Maybe you have a different perspective on this. If you do, whatever your perspective is, please do share using the comments features on all the platforms that we are on, so that we can either respond live here in today's session, or alternatively we can, you know, respond after the show. And so with that being said, I know Chris has got some further sort of kind of probing that he wants to do with you, Lyn.
Hello, I think I'm back in.
You are, Chris.
This is a very, very strange situation at the moment. So hopefully I'm back in. I'm not interrupting Lyn or Sabiha. Weird world. Lyn, so interesting there, as Sabiha mentioned about that kind of idea of, you know, green careers not being this thing in isolation, but part of a wider ecosystem, I guess. I think perhaps an interesting sort of follow-up question there is around the perceptions people have of the jobs, you know, and I guess the interest in green jobs and careers. You know, a lot of the stuff that we see in social media, thinking about kind of COP26 and who's interested in climate change, sustainability, tends to be very much perhaps a kind of stereotypical focus on young people, people at the start of their careers, people looking ahead to future jobs. But I think I'm right in saying that a lot of the research doesn't necessarily bear that out. So could you tell us a little bit maybe about how that kind of focus on green jobs and careers, it's not just for maybe the younger generation, but it's something that really we all kind of need to be aware of?
Oh, wow. Isn't that a topical of this instant question, when I've just confessed how long I've been around? and you know, here I am being very passionate about green things. But what you've said is really true. We did a NICEC event on, we called it Careers as if the Planet Matters a few months ago. And that arose because one of the NICEC people asked if we had any evidence about whether the kids involved with Fridays for the Future and XR activists and so on, whether they were actually making different career choices. So we wanted to take a look at that. And there is, you know, obviously this sort of feeling that this is a young people's issue. And of course it is, because of the length of time that they'll live. But there was some really interesting work from the Policy Institute at King's College London this year. And their heading for the report was, "Who cares about climate change?" Looking at attitudes across the generations. And what they were asking was whether environmental issues are big enough problems that we need to make significant changes to our own lives. And right across the population, at least 70% said yes. But the really interesting thing is that of the baby boomer generation, and obviously I've stuck myself in that already, that was the most concerned. They were up at about 74%, whereas the others were sort of 70, 71 or whatever. So it's right across age ranges. And I think, well, for young people, it's about their own life. For older people, I've got a grandson, pretty precious, that grandson, born in 2018, 3 years old. He is likely on current demographics to live till at least 2110. And yet all this guff in COP26 is talking about cataclysmic change this century. And I've got a grandson who's going to live into next century.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I think it's a mistake to see people's involvement being just about self-interest, their own life and their family. I think there are lots of people out there who are concerned about humankind. And if careers advisors aren't, who is, because absolutely characterizes our profession. And people are obviously very concerned about the environment in its widest sense. So huge concern right across age groups would be my answer.
Thank you for that, Lyn. And what's really fascinating is that you brought that personal element. And, often, for me, careers, we have to take a holistic approach to careers and the work that we do as professions. And that's really what's coming through to me sort of loud and clear. And I love that, how you're talking about your grandson. Like you, I'm a grandmother now, believe it or not. And, I know that this year, COVID baby, but also as well, you talk about family and friends and the community, why we care about what's happening to our planet and our world and the wider good. I just want to bring in some comments as well from people that are just sort of kind of sharing, absolutely agree. One Facebook user is saying being green and greener is a consideration for every aspect of our lives, which is what you've been talking about, Lyn, and it's what I'm nodding my head about as well. And how we spend our time and effort in work can positively impact our environment or otherwise. I know I was reading a recent article on LinkedIn and it was talking about how working from home has made a positive impact on the environment because less commuting, less people commuting, packed lunches. And I thought that was really interesting because obviously normally, we all pop out, don't we, to the local shop or wherever it is, coffee shop to grab something and that's got packaging. And I thought, God, yes, how interesting, never thought about that. And how that can adversely affect our impact. So again, a lot of people agreeing. Are you resonating with anything that, Dr. Lyn Barham is talking about here today? Perhaps you've been inspired, or maybe you're doing work in your field, your area of work. Please do share with us in the comments. I just want to bring in finally a final comment. I found work, sorry, hang on, where have we go? I found in my work with young people that they want to develop their interest with green slate, e.g. studying geography, agriculture, science, which I think is great. And then somebody else has just come in, which I will come back to. But sort of continuing our conversation and sort of exploring this topic, we've talked about individuals, but what about employers themselves? And, some of the people that have been watching here right now may be both employers as well as individuals. How does the current sustainability agenda feed into employers' behaviour and the skills that green employers might be looking for, Lyn?
That raises so many questions. Let's start off. Clearly, there's no common employer perspective. They are just so varied. So there are deep green companies. There are companies that have got the message and they're acting on the message. My favourite, and this could influence all of you who wear gear and go out walking, my favourite is Patagonia clothing. I'm going to quote you something from their website. The climate crisis is our business. To radically reduce carbon emissions, Patagonia is transforming how we make our products. Our answer to climate change is systems change. Now, that's grabbed it and said this matters and we're really going to do something about it. Unfortunately, they're comparatively rare, but there are quite a lot of companies that are doing things in the right direction, and the kind of names that come to mind that get sort of good mentions are places like Unilever, Marks and Spencer's. Do you remember Plan A? Because there's no Plan B for Marks and Spencer's a few years ago. And General Engineering, GE, had a big push at their sustainability. But there's greenwash. And there's, you know, we are probably still awash with greenwash, aren't we? And I think one of the problems for us and for us working with our clients is that it can be really quite difficult to distinguish clever words from real action. I mean, boy, there must be some PR people who've made money out of greenwash, mustn't there? So, I mean, there's a tiny bit of outright denial, but you don't hear as much as that.
Okay, we're back in. Hopefully a seamless transition. Yeah, really, really interesting stuff, Lyn. I think, as you were saying that, it got me thinking about my energy provider. I guess we're all thinking about energy providers at the moment. I'm with Octopus. They give you kind of a, you know, an annual breakdown of again, the energy you're using, which we'll all get, but obviously 100% of that is green energy, and they keep reminding me of that. And obviously that's a bit of a selling point, you know, I gather for many people, you know, when looking at, as you said, not just providers, but also maybe clothing retailers and a number of other companies as well. And you wonder whether, I guess it maybe will go a little bit like restaurants that adapted to kind of putting calories on the menu, for example. You know, will kind of people, or will companies really have to kind of promote, okay, how green they are in perhaps a more tangible way moving forward? It's really, really interesting. And I suppose it kind of, you know, leads on really, the two things we've been talking about leads really on nicely to our final question, which is, you know, we've talked about individuals, job seekers, people in wider society. We've talked about maybe how that kind of impacts on employers. And as Sabiha said, that may be that, you know, a lot of us fall into both of those categories. But I suppose really kind of over the past 18 months, what has really kind of caught the imagination, I guess, of lots of part of the careers sector is the idea of sort of featuring social justice more in our conversations around careers guidance. And obviously sustainability and the green agenda really ties into that. So I suppose sort of kind of coming away from today's show, Lyn, what would be your kind of practical takeaways for careers professionals watching this in terms of, I suppose, how they can build what we've been talking about into their work with clients?
Right, I'll pick that one up, Chris. Can I come back afterwards and just pick up a quick tip for job seekers as well? So I'll loop round and come back. I think in terms of the sort of social justice bit, career is the place where the individual meets society. So everything to do with social justice is encapsulated there, even though it's much wider than that. And I guess one thing is that I would be aware of on the social justice field is that an organisation that's prepared to exploit the environment will exploit anything, including its customers and its workers. So, you know, there's the big thumbs down for me. Yeah. I think another part of social justice is that whole decent work agenda, the one that the ILO picked up, and I know Tristram and David Bluestein and people like that have done a lot about it. But decent work isn't just about basics like pay and physical conditions. It's also about having a sense of purpose and meaning in work. And how can you have a sense of purpose and meaning if you've got a job that's pushing you to do what's completely against your values and what you believe is right for the world and the future? And I guess there's also kind of underneath this, there's a kind of ethical issue that I've really sort of struggled with and developed on over time. Way back when I first started talking about these kinds of things, I actually wrote an article for the ICG's magazine. I co-authored it with Jonathan Porritt, there's a name to conjure with, about 25 years ago. And one of the things I was struggling with then is all of the stuff around non-directive practice. So basically, if I'm being non-directive, how can I impose my own green values on my clients? And the answer is, I mustn't, I can't. And I think the whole ethical way of thinking about this has moved on loads since then. So I would now want to see the world of work and employment and so on as an enormous jigsaw puzzle. So let's have a 29 million piece jigsaw puzzle, because we've got about 29 million people working in the UK. And we need to help people see that whole jigsaw puzzle as well as finding the little niche where they fit in it. And that whole picture includes all of the stuff about natural resources and sustainability and climate change and biodiversity and the permanence or the continuity of organizations, because they'll fail if they don't adapt. And so it now seems to me not just that we can talk about it with individuals, but we should. It's actually part of the big picture when we're talking to them about where they individually fit into the big jigsaw puzzle picture.
Lyn, you have been absolutely fabulous in articulating and talking about green jobs. I just want to say, who else is feeling this way right now? If you are, show some love in the comment section, give her a round of applause. I think she's, firstly for the technical issues that we had, and then secondly for the short time, because we've had to condense the show into a much shorter gap. Yep, look, even Chris is giving you the thumbs up, Lyn. We've got some amazing comments that have kind of come through, so I do want to sort of kind of bring them in as we wrap up today's show. As well as Lyn, the practical tip. You were going to talk about the job description, so I wanted to come back to you on that. Go on, Lyn. I think.
Go on. I'll do it as quickly as I can.
Sure.
When you look at companies' websites and you try to find out how green they are, if you look at the recruitment bit, it isn't there. And I really puzzled about that and did some exploration with an HR specialist, and she pointed out that what they put on the recruitment bit of the website is so full of pay and conditions and personal development and loads of other stuff. They've got to get inclusion and EDI in there, and there isn't room for their green and sustainability stuff. But the minute somebody gets a job, it will come in induction. It'll be an important part if the firm's even halfway good. So here's a tip for savvy job applicants. Do your homework on the organisation website generally. Get their position on sustainability and green issues. And when you get to that bit of the interview where saying, is there anything you'd like to ask us about the company or the job or whatever, go in there with a question which is along the lines of, I know this is what you're trying to do about sustainability. How will you want me to help you do it? So you're going in there with saying, how can I help you? How can I be the guy or the woman who is pushing you with this big agenda? Okay.
I love that tip, Lyn, because for so many reasons, and if I just talk purely as a career practitioner, when you're advising your clients of any age range, of any background, when they're going through that sort of, recruitment process, my clients are always asking me, are your clients always asking you, viewers, about, what are the questions? And I have to say, it's very rare that I've ever seen anybody put the sort of sustainability, the green question in there. So this is something new, definitely. And you heard it first here today in the, in the hashtag We Are Career Show from the amazing, the legendary Lyn. I just want to bring in a final comment. Sorry for those of you that made comments and we didn't get time today to get through with them. But I just wanted to bring here somebody that just sort of shared. This is really insightful, Lyn. What else are companies willing to exploit if they are okay with exploiting the environment? So you've definitely got a fan there. And then Liz McGuire just shared, I buy clothes from charity shops, buying locally sourced food if possible, cycle rather than drive if possible, avoid packaging and cut down on buying general use, reusable, compostable, washable household and personal products. And, she's going on to say, I also now have a sheep. Go on, Liz. McGuire. Okay, she's got a sheep. I don't know if many of us can afford or have the space to have a sheep, but that's good to know. And I've learned of the vital role that wool can play in our clothes, insulation, pest control, bedding, but farmers currently lose money having their own sheep sheared and selling the wool at a loss. I'm trying. Well, you definitely are. And, these are just how we were talking about earlier about some of the, the things that we can do as individuals. Lyn's given us advice and tips about what employers could do. And bringing all of that together, as Chris said at the top of the show, I think this show today has opened our eyes with the information and the knowledge that Lyn has shared with us about what it means and what does green jobs mean. And I hope you're walking away today with having watched the show today, having gained and learned some new perspective, or perhaps reconfirm some ideas that you already had, to knowing that there are other people who feel and share those sentiments and those views and challenges and are working towards this. We've just got a final comment saying you guys are amazing in the way that you're coping with challenges online, not always easy, coming across loud and clear. So thank you, we really appreciate that. And so that really brings me now to the final segment of today's show, which is obviously the CDI news as well as then the general news. So Lyn, thank you so much for joining us. Lyn, if people are interested and wanting to connect with you, I know you're close into retirement and you're doing a lot better at it, but if people want to connect with you, what's the best way? What platform is the best platform for them to reach out to you,
Lyn? Anybody's welcome to email me. So you just need my name as 9 letters, Lyn Barham, LynBarham @gmail.com.
Love it. You were one of the fortunate ones that managed to get your name, on Gmail. So that's great. So wonderful. So there you have it, folks. As well as that, Lyn, some of the resources that Lyn has been sharing, we're going to be including them in the resources document, which is available only exclusively in the Facebook community. So if you are a CDI member and you haven't yet joined, please do come and say hello. We are now a strong over 1,000+ members in there currently right now, thanks to the amazing job that Liz and Dave do. However, if you're wondering and you're watching this and you're wondering, what is this CDI? Or you've heard about the CDI, but you're not quite sure, then please head on over to the CDI website. There is a ton of information on there about what you get when you become a member. Also as well, that there is a bonus that we're going to be including that is courtesy of NICEC, which Lyn is a member of as well. So please do come and find out more information either in the Facebook community or on any of our other platforms or the CDI website as well. So that brings me on to today's CDI news. Now, because we've been away for a while, it was a little bit tough picking out the key my top 3 news stories, and I've gone with the following. So number 1, okay, join the CDI Careers Matters Editorial Board. The CDI is currently looking for volunteers to join the virtual Careers Matters Editorial Board. Now, the Careers Matters is published 4 times a year, and the editorial board plays a key vital role in reviewing content, suggesting articles, and identifying possible advertisers, and sometimes working to very tight deadlines. So if this is something that sort of is attracting you and you're interested and you can see yourself being the next sort of journalist, perhaps you've got some journalism background, or maybe it's just something that you're interested in, please email Alison Dixon at editor@thecdi.net. outlining your experience and interest in the volunteering role. Again, all of this information, as well as the contact information for both our guests today, as well as any of the other top stories that we're going to be talking about, will be made available in the resources document, which will be made available in the Facebook community shortly after the show. So my top story for number 2 is take part in the second CDI Big Listen survey. Now, the CDI is keen to get your feedback on working as part of the career development profession, as well as capturing information on pay and benefits across the sector. Now, I know this is a topic that so many of you are passionate about. So please, take your time. It takes about 15 minutes to complete. You will have received an email if you are a member. If not, you can also head on over to the CDI website where there is a link, and I'll also be including the link for where you can go to complete the CDI Big Listen survey number 2. Now, there is a deadline for when this survey can be completed. It is Tuesday, the 30th of November. Now, finally, story number 3 from the CDI is the UK CDI Development Awards 2022 are now open for nominations. Now, the awards celebrate the best in career development are now open for nominations from the CDI members and affiliates. Now, the categories have been updated this year, which includes awards for careers program, pre-16 education and careers program, plus post-16 education to encourage entries from schools, colleges and universities as well. Now, also as well, there will be awards for the public sector careers advisor coach of the year, as now we also have the private sector careers coach consultant of the year as well for the very first time. So please do look out for that. Nominations deadline is 17th of December, so you've got time. So whether it's yourself, you can self-nominate, or you have somebody else that you have in mind that you see doing a phenomenal job, remember the deadline is 17th of December. And then finally, because we had Lyn today, I wanted also to remember you, the viewers, that the free NICEC journal, the new edition, is available for free for CDI members. The October edition of NICEC journal has been published. And as a CDI member, remember I did say, if you're a member, there's lots of bonuses that you get, and this is one of them. You'll receive this excellent publication for free, and you can access it by logging into your members area. So that really, for me, is wrapping up today's CDI news. And so I'm just going to give Chris.
Thanks very much, Sabiha. If anyone's wondering why I've gone through the last couple of sections looking a little bit blank, essentially I can't see anything. So I'm just kind of waiting here. We're trying to kind of pass things over via chat. So hopefully it's not been too jerky, but thanks, Sabiha. Great CDI news roundup as always. And Lyn, fantastic guest. So I mean, really, really interesting, thought-provoking stuff around green careers. Certainly an area that I would say is definitely kind of a knowledge gap for me, and really prompted me to think about some of this in the work I do with kind of HE students and graduates. So really, really useful. Quite a bit of main news that we're going to put in the show resources document, as Sabiha mentioned. That's going to appear on the Facebook community of practice for the CDI shortly after the end of the show. We'll also be sharing Lyn's presentation from the recent CDI Wales Cymru sort of event that focused around kind of green careers, or had kind of a particular focus within the event, within the conference on green careers, which hopefully you'll find really useful as well. There's some fantastic data in there, really useful kind of insights to explore, particularly some of the stuff that Lyn mentioned earlier around kind of demographics and interest in sustainability and climate change. For the main news, I've got kind of three sort of big stories that I just want to draw people's awareness to, and we'll put the other stuff in the show resources document. The first one is the really welcome news that the proposed changes to further education, so namely the kind of culling of BTECs, which I think, you know, a huge number of people in across industry were really, really opposed to. That's been delayed by a further year. So T-levels obviously still going ahead. Indeed, many students studying them already. But the proposed kind of cull of the BTECs has been pushed back a year, I believe, to 2024. And again, this might be the sign that the campaign that's going on at the moment about protecting student choice is gaining momentum. If you've not already written to your MP about it, please do. There's serious concerns about only having two options, A-levels, T-levels, and obviously apprenticeships to the side of those. Real issues for students who might be studying at a lower level than that. And also kind of huge issues previously about the kind of the academic qualifications needed to do T-levels, which thankfully there's also been a little bit of a rollback on as well. So more to develop with that story. Second news item is really around TikTok. And again, a number of careers professionals at the moment using TikTok to engage with kind of particularly a younger audience. But again, as Lyn mentioned, should be keen not to stereotype here. Lots of mid-level career professionals also using TikTok as a tool for finding careers information, promoting themselves and seeking out opportunities. There's a careers professional called Jake Richings. So he's kind of a speaker, professional speaker that looks at kind of finding your career path. He's actually running a 5-day TikTok challenge at the end of November into December. I've included a link to his LinkedIn post. Some very, very interesting posts he's put up recently about the number of views of career hashtags on TikTok, well into the millions and billions, and something that he's kind of convinced, certainly for working with a younger age group, is going to be a platform that careers professionals need to leverage. So keep an eye out for that. Even if kind of the thought of it fills you with horror, it's a real development, certainly, that people in the sector are already looking at. And finally, just kind of I suppose an update about the graduate labour market, which obviously feeds in to lots of other stuff around the kind of general labour market. A really good update from the Institute of Student Employers, led by Tristan Hooley, which has come out this week on Wonky and a number of other kind of blog sites. Gives a really kind of positive overview of some of the kind of change that's been coming in terms of increases in graduate recruitment, but also kind of links back to some of the other research that's been done by people like Adzuna, Recruitment and Employers Confederation, and various other sort of bodies like the Institute of Employment Studies, to give kind of a nice overview of what's happening at the moment, and positive pictures, but also pictures around economic activity in the wider labour market, which could affect a number of us as careers professionals in terms of the work that we're doing. So that's our news roundup for today. We're really sorry about any of the technical issues we have experienced. And the final thing we want to say before we kind of move on to next week's episode is we're at a slightly different time next week. We're on Tuesday, the 23rd of November, again from 1 to 1:30, and we're with careers education consultant and all-round careers royalty, Janet College, as we talk about primary careers and careers in primary education. So thanks so much for everyone who's joined us today. Thanks for those watching on the Facebook community of practice, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and a massive thanks to my co-host Sabiha, and of course to Lyn for being a brilliant guest. Thanks to all of you watching at home, and hope you have a great week.
Thank you.